Hello and welcome to episode 7, Wheels and Tires. In a few videos, I'm going to be doing a complete rebuild, or just a complete buildup of a car, and that'll include wheels and tires. And if you get very far into this, even just having to replace tires, or if you start to build, you're going to run into some of the issues I had with what wheels and tires do you want to use. Now, I've pretty much always used Paul Gage tires, but the wheels, I was learning as I was going. One of the first things I needed to learn was figuring out what the actual stock diameter is. So using some good old-fashioned digital calipers, you can quickly measure that. For these, it's about 21.5 on the stocks. Now what that affects is basically if you are running magnets, it's going to affect how low or how high that car sits off the track. So if you increase that outside diameter, just a half a millimeter will make a big difference in your traction. So pushing a larger diameter wheel and tire set is going to decrease that traction. Reducing it is going to increase that traction, but you also have to make sure you don't get so low that the car is just dragging on the track. If we look at one of my favorite cars that I got from Ralph over at Racebaan Hobby in the Netherlands, the tire and wheel kit here is just about 21. So it's about a half a millimeter less in diameter. And if you look at the tire wheel set of the car I built in the last episode, that also comes out at about 21. So I've done a pretty decent job of just lowering it a little bit to increase that traction. But those are things you have to keep in mind. Now with the car I want to build, I really love the look of these wheels. They're deep, they're really deep. You can actually, a wheel that looks similar to them is this one right here. As you can see, it's smooth. There is no rib. It's deep dished. Basically, the guy that had these took the old wheels that came with the car and he cut them up and just made that little insert piece out of the old wheel and then glued them into the new wheels. How he did that, I'm not sure, but he did an excellent job. It looks amazing. But you can buy inserts for these tires and wheels. For example, like this set here came with a set. There's different sizes, so when you do get a wheel like this, you want to measure that inside diameter and look for inserts to match, because that's going to be very important. But I ordered a ton of different wheels from two places. Pendle Slot Racing out of the UK and some from Evotech in Spain. A bunch of the wheels I was looking at, they had decent offerings here at different places in the States, but not the ones I was really looking for. We'll take a look at two of the scale autos I got. One is 16.9, other is 17.2. These I would use as a staggered sizing for front and rears. These being on the rear, they're 10 millimeters wide. The fronts would be 8.5 millimeters. Require different sets of tires, that's okay. But I do like that staggered look. But if you look at these wheels, they're nicely polished. They're scalloped with a little bit of an inset rim. And they've got the little black dots there that you would think for the lug nuts. No real insert needed. They just look good. They look cool. So they'll just look fine as they are. Other sets you will probably want to use an insert for, namely like these, where it's deep set, nothing special about them, but they're designed to have an insert put in there. So you can pick up different inserts to give whatever kind of look you want. Some of the other wheels I've got, like these Me Too's, They have that old five-pointed star racing look. Again, they're designed, you don't need an insert for them. They just look cool. So I bought a lot of these different sizes, types, just to try them out, see what I like, see how they look, see how they handle with the different tires. But what I really wanted to do, again, was try and match these. So I did find those two different ones. These Slotting Plus 17 by 13, and these MB slots that are 18 by 13. Sadly, these are all for 3 millimeters, 3 millimeter axles. These, to my best of what I've been able to discover, were old Slot Devil wheels that you can't get anymore. I found them on a few websites where it was like an archived page that had them listed, but even going to the Slot Devil site in Germany, you can't find them. They just stopped making them. I don't know why. I love them, but it is what it is. So there is one thing I can do to put a wheel for a 3 millimeter axle onto a 2.38 millimeter axle, and it's these bushings from Slotting Plus. They you can use that in a chassis for bushings on a chassis to put a smaller axle through, or right into the wheel itself. They fit right into the 3 millimeter hole in the wheel, and then the axle will slide right into them. The grub screw will pinch down and do them just fine. So as you can see, I've already done that. These are Paul Gage tires. They're the only ones I could find that were not designed for running on a hub. It was painful to get these onto the wheels because they are so large. I had to use 2 sets of pliers to pull the wheel, pull the tire, stretch the tire, hold them that way, and then slip the wheel in. It was painful, to say the least. And they've already been on the tire truer. That was in a video I shot the other day. I will cinch that up here later at the end, so you can see that going on. I've taken them down a good bit. They're about 23 millimeters. I want to take a little bit more, but I'll wait till I measure some stuff on the chassis before I take them down to their final size. But I also wanted to just go over the Paul Gage tires for anybody interested in those in the future, the numbers and what they mean, and then I'll show you how they fit with the wheels. All right, for instance, these are 20 12.5 LMXDs. So what does all that mean? The 20 is basically your finished outside diameter when slotted onto a wheel that it's designed to go onto, like a 16 or a 17 OD wheel. The 12 is the width of the tire, and the 5 is the width for the rib. The LM stands for a larger opening diameter of the inside, and it's a lower profile tire. The XD has to deal with the rib height. If there is no XD, that means it's basically just for the standard rib height of 1 millimeter. XD means it is set for a rib height of 1.5 millimeters. And if you see an XXD, then that is for a 2 millimeter rib height. So if you have a wheel and you're looking for a tire, you can measure that wheel and get an idea. So if we take a look at this, this is basically a pre-assembled slotted rear end. Axle bushings, the crown gear and wheels all ready to go. So you can buy this as one unit. So if we take a look, we're looking at the overall diameter of the wheel, where it's about 17.5, which is basically what these tires are set for. When you put that wheel on here, it'll be about a 20 millimeter diameter. We have a rib height. If you want to take the rib height, you just move down to the actual outside of the rim, and you can subtract that from the actual rib, the overall outside diameter, and that will give you the rib height. So the XD works just fine here. And the width, I'm going to set the width of the width at 9.7 with the 12 millimeter wide tires. That's going to stick out a bit, but they already do anyway, so that's going to fit just fine. And I'll show you how that pairs up. I'll just take this off real quick. They slide on quite easy, a lot easier than the other ones did. So as you can see, the way these tires are designed, they do overlap the wheel a little bit. So that's how you get that wider tire itself on a narrower rim. That's just how it works out. So if we take a look now at the overall finished outside diameter, we're at right around 21 millimeters, which is perfect for these DTM cars. And that's basically what I'm using these tires on. All the DTM cars have those wheels or those tires on them. I've either got 2012s or 2011s. You're talking about a millimeter of surface area for the width. Traction wise, I've run different cars with the 11s and the 12s. I haven't really seen anything, but I still generally, a wider tire looks better, and you should expect more grip, but as well, that's more weight. So a wider tire is more weight. That's more the engine's got to spin. So whether it matters or not with all the physics calculations that I have no desire to do, who knows? But either one will work, the 2011 5s or the 2012 5s, especially just for these DTM cars. So that's basically how that all works. Back to these. As you can see, they've already been sanded. I'm going to kick over to that video now, so you can see how it works, how the tire chewer works. Now, before I kick on the tire chewer, I want you to see how it looks. These are fresh tires, ready to go to the chewer, not to the track. These are not flat. And if you want traction, they need to be flat. You may only have a little bit of these wheels touching the surface at any given time, and that's going to be a very reduced amount of traction. As you can see the difference here, you'll see how the gray they are. Those have been completely flattened. Every bit of that wheel or that tire is touching the track surface. So when you have these tires, whether you get a tire chewer or just a piece of sandpaper, you want to true these tires up and get them nice and perfectly flat. That will give you the best traction possible. And you'll see that in just a minute when the other parts of the video kick in with the chewer in action. So stay tuned. Okay, so we're back now with the tire chewer. I've mentioned it before. I got this from Overdrive shop in Germany. They had another version. I've seen it, Professor Motor, I believe, and a couple other shops, the V3, but I haven't seen them lately. And I haven't seen the V4. So I got tired of just holding cars onto a piece of sandpaper and probably not getting a good smooth sand on them. So I bought this, and I've loved it. It's really simple, real easy to use. When it first came in, it had pigtails for plugging into one of those, bigger power supply units you might buy on eBay. I'm using you don't need a lot of voltage. I think you can't even run it over 9 volts. I turn it up to 8, and that's it. Any more, you can damage the motor. I just cut the pigtails off and put a connector on it, and I have one of these little adapter bricks. I got these off of Amazon. I can adjust the voltage to anything I want. We've got 3 amps total max output. I have a couple of these. I use these for testing my LED lighting and everything else. I can, with the adapter plugs, I can plug it into different items and wire it right up, be it the bricks, the power distribution bricks, or the bucks, or like in this case, this, where it just boop, plugs right together. So how does it work? Well, you take this little fella right here. I've already got a grub screw inserted. Goes over your axle. And then you just tighten it down onto the axle. Put it through there. And I forgot bushings. Now I'm going to have to stop the camera, take the wheel off, put bushings on, and start this over again. So we'll be back. I just pressed play or record again, and I had to go out and go grab a set of bushings because it requires bushings to fit into this receptor. So put it back on like this. The bushings match up with the swing arm. And you rotate a little bit, put it onto the motor. This arm comes over, you tighten it down up here. Use this to raise and lower it. Set this up. Yeah, that little twisty there raises and lowers the wheels. So we're going to plug this in and get it spinning. As you can hear, it's just only on about 3 volts right now. But as you can see, that keeps it winning. I'll usually slide this back and forth as I'm going. We'll crank it up and start sanding these wheels down. About 8 volts there. And let it start doing its thing. Whoop. And we'll just keep sanding until we get down to where we want to be. And I'll stop now and come back when we get closer. Just a quick video update. It's been going for 10-15 minutes now. Just slowly tightening it down as it goes. I've already cleaned the pads off twice. So it's not a quick process. But it's slowly taking those tires down. My goal, like I said, it was about 25 millimeters when we started. My goal is to get that total outside diameter down to around 21 and a half, which kind of fits with the Carrera cars. I'm not going to take it down much. I'm probably going to stop at 22. Until I see where these sit on the new car that I'm going to put them on. I want to make sure there's clearance with the chassis, and I want to see how far up off the track the chassis sits. Since these are solid wheels and there's no rib, I can take this down nearly as much as I want. I mean, you know, we've got a millimeter rubber over the wheels, that's plenty for these cars. You're not using it for shock absorbance. It's all for traction. So we will, I'll take it down just a little bit more, and then we will wait and see how things look with the new car. But we'll just go ahead and we'll end the video here, because you can see it's getting further and further down. And that's wasn't the ideal plan, but I don't want to waste the tires. And in any case, you can always sand them down. And, so yeah, we'll end this video here and pick it up next time. Thanks for watching.